Over Shabbos, I was thinking that the last time that we had at least mostly normal Shabbos together in shul, seems like a lifetime ago, was the Shabbos immediately preceding Purim. So we refer to as Shabbos Zachor because we have a special maftir when we lane, actually from a section from Parshas Teitzei that we just read on Shabbos, that discusses the story of Amalek attacking the Jewish people. We were tired and we were weary, having just left Egypt, having just survived 210 years of slavery and oppression, and Amalek used that as an opportunity to seek to harm us and destroy us. And of course Hashem saved us that time. But Amalek has come to represent and symbolize this type of evil in the world, those who look for weakness and vulnerability and use that as an opportunity to try and destroy. Immediately before the mitzvah to remember Amalek that's recorded at the very, very end of Parshas Teitzei, the last mitzvah in this mitzvah jam-packed parsha, is another mitzvah that at first glance seems to be completely unrelated. It is the commandment of having honest weights and measures, that when conducting business, making sure to be scrupulously honest and incredibly careful and sensitive to the belongings and the money of other people, making sure that we're not at all dishonest in our business dealings and not taking anything that doesn't belong to us. Of course, a very important mitzvah, but doesn't seem at first glance to be directly related or connected in any way to the story of Amalek. However, Rashi notes that in fact, these mitzvos are very directly connected. Rashi writes, you know what the connection between having honest weights and measures is and the attack of Amalek? Im shakarta b'midos uv'mishkalos. If you lie, if you're dishonest about your weights and measurements, have a doeg megiroi ha'oyev. Then be worried, be fearful about the intimidation and the attack of your enemies like Amalek, God forbid. Rashi says, what can invite the attack of Amalek? What can lead to something so potentially terrible and destructive? It is when one is dishonest in their business. He even quotes a pasuk from Mishlei that also makes a similar connection between being dishonest in business, deceiving our customers, and, God forbid, inviting an attack from our enemies such as Amalek. Now, when I was reviewing this Rashi, two questions came to mind. Firstly, what is, a deeper understanding of this connection between honest weights and measures and the attack of Amalek? Of course, in general, we always believe in a system of reward and punishment, schar v'onesh. When we do good things will happen, and when we do bad things can happen. We don't understand all the details on how it actually works and manifests in this world, but we believe and trust that Hashem works it all out, and there is such a system. But the Torah could have said anything. Not fasting on Yom Kippur will lead to Amalek attacking. Not observing Shabbos, wearing wool and linen. There are many, many negative commandments. Many mitzvos lo say that the Torah seemingly could have said, if you violate this, Amalek will attack. What is it specifically about the mitzvah of honest weights and measures, about being careful and honest in our business dealings, that somehow is directly connected and linked to the mitzvah of blotting out the memory of Amalek? But the second question I thought of, I think, is even stronger. Because if we turn back to Parshas Beshalach, we read about the attack of Amalek when it actually happened. Remember, the book of Devarim is Moshe's recounting and retelling of the stories of the past. This is Moshe in his final days and weeks of life, reminding the Jewish people of the good things and the bad things that they've done over the past number of years. This is in year 40 of their travels through their desert. They're on the brink of entering the land of Israel. The story of Amalek happened, as we just mentioned, right after leaving Egypt, so almost 40 full years ago. In Parshas Beshalach, we read of this attack, Vayavo Amalek, Vayilachem em Yisrael b'Refidim. It's actually the Torah reading for Purim morning. Amalek came and they attacked and they warred with Bnei Yisrael in a place called Refidim. There Rashi notes as well that the story that comes immediately prior to the attack of Amalek is also directly connected and linked to the reason of Amalek's attack. If we look at the psukim that come right before Amalek attacks, the Torah tells us, Vayikra Shem Hamakom Masa Umiriva. Moshe named the place that Bnei Yisrael had been dwelling Masa Umiriva, challenging and fighting. Al riv b'nei Yisrael ve'al nasosam es Hashem le'mor, because b'nei Yisrael challenged, tested, they fought with Hashem and with Moshe, saying, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im ayin. Is there even truly a God in our midst or not? An incredible question to ask, just days and weeks after experiencing the plagues in Egypt, the splitting of the sea. And now Bnei Israel are hungry, and we know that sometimes hunger can cause us to do and say things that are irrational. But to go so far as to say, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im ayin. Is there a God in our midst or not? And Rashi says, you know what can invite an attack from Amalek? You know what can lead to an attack from our enemies? It's this denial of Hashem's existence and involvement in the world. It's a lack of emunah, belief and faith in Hashem, that can directly lead to an attack of our enemies. Hashem will want to remind us and show us what can happen if he, so to speak, turns his face from us. So I don't understand, though, which one is it? In Beshalach, Rashi says very clearly that it's a lack of faith, a lack of emunah in Hashem that will lead to an attack from Amalek. And yet, flip ahead to Parshas Teitzei, the parsha we read on Shabbos when Moshe is recounting this story, and Rashi says something seemingly completely different, that it's being dishonest in our weights and measures that will lead to an attack from Amalek. Which one is it? And I think that there's a very simple but true answer, which is that yes. The answer is both. Because truly, these two struggles, these two challenges, these two sins are really one and the same. When one is dishonest in business, when one pushes his thumb on the scale or shaves off his weights, steals a few pennies or nickels here and there from his customers, that is an expression of a severe lack of faith and recognition in the fact that Hashem exists, is involved with the world, and is behind everything that's going on. Now you might say that, well, isn't any sin that we do, anytime we make a mistake or a bad decision, inherent with a latent denial of Hashem's existence in the world? And you're right. Anytime we sin, it means maybe there's something a little bit imperfect in our faith and understanding of Hashem's existence. And we're human beings, so that's how it is. But I think that specifically the mitzvah of being honest in business and the commandment never to be dishonest in business is particularly connected to the idea of faith in Hashem. And I'll explain why, and I have two reasons. Firstly, the Gemara in Bava Kama contrasts two types of theft. Both are mentioned in the Torah, and of course both are prohibited. One is called Geneva, and one is called Gezela, Lo Tignov and Lo Tigzol. What is each one? So the Gemara defines Geneva as theft through stealth, theft through secrecy. The paradigm of someone, God forbid, sneaking into somebody's house in the middle of the night, wearing a mask, doesn't want anybody to see who he is or what he's doing, doesn't want everyone to even know he's there, just sneak in, grab his things, and sneak out. That's Geneva, theft through stealth. Gezela is also theft, but it's very different. Theft through force. It's a person who comes with force and intimidation, maybe a weapon or brute strength, and he'll take your stuff. He's not hiding who he is or what he's doing. He doesn't mind if you see him, because he's going to use his force or his intimidation to take what he wants. Now, of course, to repeat, both are bad. Both are usur, both are prohibitions. But the Gemara says, you know which one is treated more severely? You know which one has a harsher punishment? The punishment of paying back double? Punishment of paying kefel? It is Geneva. There's something particularly disgraceful or heinous about the theft through stealth, about committing Geneva. Because the Gemara says that's a person who's very careful, who's very wary about what others around him see and think of him. He wants to make sure nobody sees him so nobody thinks less of him, nobody takes him to the authorities, nobody gets in trouble. Nobody gets him in trouble. What about the fact that Hashem is watching him and knows what's going on? To that he pays no attention. That doesn't matter to him at all. It's like somebody who would honor a child while at the same time disgracing the parent, or honor a servant while at the very same moment dishonoring the master. It's particularly disgraceful to, so to speak, honor, to care about, to worry about, and to be concerned about how other people perceive you, and to pay no attention to what Hashem sees or thinks. When you steal through stealth, when you have dishonest weights and measures, it's a way to make sure that nobody else knows what you're doing. They don't even realize they're being overcharged or that they're being stolen from. What about that effect that Hashem is watching? That doesn't matter. And there's something particularly disgraceful about this very active and blatant violation of having trust and awareness of Hashem in this world. But the truth is, when it comes to money and our parnasa, our sustenance, and our business, it's even more than that. And this is my second point. Because if we really believed and trusted that everything we have, that everything we earn really comes from Hashem, that we can't earn one penny more than He wants us to, and that we'll be given everything that we deserve, then what would be the point of stealing or being dishonest in business? Do you think you're going to outsmart Hashem and go around His back? Do you think you're going to earn more than Hashem wants you to earn by tipping the scales? Being dishonest in business represents a denial of the fact that Hashem is running things, that Hashem is giving me that which I deserve. So which one is it? Which leads to an attack from Amalek? Is it a lack of belief in Hashem? Or is it dishonesty with my weights and measures, stealing quietly and secretly in my business dealings? And the answer is it's both, because they're the same. Being dishonest in business in such a secretive and deceitful way is itself an act of a denial of Hashem in the world. The truth is, when you look closer at Rashi, I think it becomes very clear that this is exactly what he means. Because Rashi in Parshas Beshalach gives a mashal. He gives a parable. Rashi says, Mashal la'adam shehirkiv beno al ksefo v'yatza laderech. It's a parable of a man who puts his child onto his shoulders. He's giving a piggyback ride and goes out on their journey. Haya oso habein roeh chefetz v'omer Abba tol chefetz zeh v'tein li. The son sees a little toy on the path. He sees something on the ground and he says, Abba, can you pick that up? I want that. And his father bends down and picks it up and hands it to him. V'hu nosein lo. V'chein shniya, v'chein shlishit. It happens a second time. It happens a third time. The son keeps seeing things that he wants. He asks the father to pick it up. Father bends down, picks it up, and hands it to him. Pago ba'adam echad. They bump into a man on the path. Amar lo oso abein ra'isa as Abba. So the son, who's still riding on his father's shoulders, says to this man who they bumped into, have you seen my father? He's been riding on his father's shoulders. He still is. But he's become so comfortable and he can't see his father because he's on top of him that he forgot that he's there. Amar lo aviv, his father says to him, Eincha yodea heichanani, you don't know where I am? He shlicho me'alav, he threw him off of his shoulders. Uba kelev unishacho, and the dog came and bit him. I mentioned in shul that we shouldn't learn a lesson from this father for us. Clearly this father, I think, seems to need some anger management therapy. Maybe he could have answered his son a little bit more gently. But the mashal is teaching us that this is exactly what we do with Hashem. He carries us, so to speak, metaphorically on his back. We ask him for things and he gives it to us. And then as we keep collecting more and more things, we think we've earned it. We think we've picked it up. We forgot who's carrying us and who's providing for us. And we say, where's Abba? I don't see him anywhere. That's what it means when we're dishonest in business. That's like saying, where's Abba? Where's Hashem? I'm doing this without him. I'll take matters into my own hands. He's not here. He's not watching. And God forbid that could lead Hashem to saying, get off of my back for a moment, throwing us down and letting someone come and, God forbid, attack so that we can learn our lesson. I know that none of us have any temptation to steal or be dishonest. None of us are obviously going to break into someone's home. None of us, of course, would even have the temptation to change the numbers or tip the scales. I hope and I'm sure. But we all sometimes struggle with these matters. Are we more concerned with what other people think of us, or are we more concerned with what Hashem thinks of us and what Hashem wants from us? Are we reminding ourselves and remembering that it's truly Hashem who provides, and that all of the decisions that we make in business and in life should be determined by really primarily one matter? What does Hashem want from me? And the more that we can keep that in mind, and the more that we can make sure that that influences and leads the decisions that we make in life, God willing, that should be the greatest protection for the Jewish people and for the whole world. Amalek should be erased. Have a wonderful day. Shavua Tov.